What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back to talk some, well, you know who, Haason Reddick, still a big story with the New York Jets. And today we got some updates to the latest on the Haason Reddick saga, and it is just unbelievably frustrating. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We're getting into silly season, and we have some updates, so let's get into it. According to Connor Hughes of SNY, Tory Dandy, the GM of Haason Reddick, and Joe Douglas have reportedly talked. That is a good sign, because remember, we're not going to talk to him until he's in the building. Let's listen to the full clip, actually.
I can tell you that the two sides are at least talking. There's been communication between Tory Dandy and Joe Douglas, but both sides remain dug in. The Jets are not willing to negotiate a new contract for Reddick until he shows up. Reddick is not going to show up until he gets a new contract. Right now, that's the stance. And I know I've talked to people that know Reddick. I don't know him very well, aside from that brief interaction I had with him at his charity event. But from the people that know him well, they say that they believe he is the type of person that would be willing to hold out the entire season until he gets what he wants. Now, will that happen? I don't necessarily know, but you made a good point.
The part that stands out to me in the most shocking way is willing to hold out the entire season. That scares me. That really does scare me, because the Jets could use, I know we don't like tossing the word need around. I know some like using the word luxury instead. But how about the Jets could benefit from? Is that a split the difference enough for you guys? I hope, maybe. I think the Jets are, without a doubt, a better football team with Haason Reddick on the field. They did not get any pressure in week 1 against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, what you're going to say, they ran the ball all night. That's a big factor in it. It is. That absolutely was a factor in it. But on 31 dropbacks, you had Brock Purdy pressured 3 times in the game. The 2 sacks the Jets had were coverage sacks. It was a really poor effort from this unit. Will McDonald did not look ready for a regular role. Michael Clemens in his action did not look ready for a regular role. Takk McKinley didn't do enough to make you feel all that comfortable. With the addition of Haason Reddick, getting him in here in the building would lessen the playing time of Michael Clemens, who had a poor game, Will McDonald, who had a poor game, and Takk McKinley, who had a poor game. I know we like Takk McKinley, great story in training camp. I know we like all the UDFAs that they signed and added to the roster. I do too. I like the potential of developing them. Here's what I don't like. In a go for it, win now season, the New York Jets going, we are comfortable. We are going to play our UDFA rookies, and they're going to get the reps to try to replace Bryce Huff and John Franklin Myers here, because that's something that, for whatever reason, gets lost in translation when discussing Haason Reddick, because part of it is, yes, you don't want to fold and pay him just an exorbitant amount of money. That's not what I'm asking. That's not what anyone else is asking. But you made your bed after you decided what you did with Bryce Huff. He leaves in free agency, signs with the Philadelphia Eagles. You trade John Franklin Myers away for virtually nothing, a 6th-round pick in 2026, and your plan to replace that, Michael Clemens with JFM, and Haason Reddick for Bryce Huff. Haason Reddick has not been in the building. Clearly, the Jets are missing a key pass rusher. Can they win this game on Sunday without him? Yeah. Will they be able to stay afloat without Haason Reddick? Yeah, they should be. Absolutely. But are they going to be able to compete with the best of the best and be at their highest level of function without Haason Reddick? The answer is no. And if you're trying to tell yourself otherwise, that is just a level of coping that I can't understand. I want to talk to you guys about today's sponsor, Tushy. Guys, it's a game changer. The Tushy bidet will completely change your bathroom experience. You get a targeted stream of fresh water to get you 2 times cleaner than wiping ever could. It's time to retire that outdated routine and upgrade to a fresh, confident clean. The setup is super easy. I was able to do it myself. You don't need electricity. You don't need a plumber. It's super simple, comes with directions, easy to install, and the results, I said it already, but I'll say it again, it's a game changer. Once you've experienced the Tushy bidet, your butt will never settle for less. Feel shower fresh when you need it most and join the 2 million butts who already switched to Tushy. For a limited time, our listeners will get 10% off their first bidet order when they use our code O'Leary at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at HELLOTUSHY.com, HelloTushy.com with promo code O'Leary. Not every single move Joe Douglas does or the franchise does is the right one. Jet fans love to criticize Robert Saleh, and believe me, he deserves that criticism. The part that I just really have a hard time with is how Joe Douglas doesn't seem to get any criticism. I like Joe Douglas. I think he is a pretty good GM. I like the roster that he has built, but he gets a complete pass on everything, especially this Haason Reddick situation. Most Jet fans, I feel like, want to put 100% of the blame on Haason Reddick, on the player. That's not fair. Joe Douglas's plan after losing Bryce Huff was to acquire this guy. The next step is you got to get him in the building. Why did they take the meetings with Jadeveon Clowney? Why were they going to meet with Shaq Barrett? And then why did they end up eventually trading for Haason Reddick if they thought they were already good at pass rush, at the edge rusher position? None of it makes any sense. And guess what? There's more to the story from today. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reporting that the Jets might need to trade Haason Reddick. Here's the full tweet and the quote from our Week 2 Buzz File. Multiple league execs believe the Jets will eventually need to explore flipping Haason Reddick via trade as the contract impasse has no end in sight. Quote, not sure they have a choice. Not sure they have a choice. That's a terrible indictment on this team and on the plan. I get it that we want Joe Douglas to, hold firm, stay in the line, but you're cutting your nose to spite your face at that point. And there's a difference between redoing Haason Reddick's contract for this year, getting him more guaranteed, and tacking on an additional year in 2025 if you have to. There's a difference between doing that and going out and giving him 4 years for $100 million. It's not mutually exclusive. You could split the difference between paying till 2026 when Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson are going to all end up needing new contracts. And then there's, hey, let's try to optimize our winning window. I don't know if the Jets realize that they have a 2-year window right now because they're operating without urgency, is what I mentioned about Robert Saleh and his quote from earlier in the week. Everyone seemed to agree with that one. You like to get on Robert Saleh when he doesn't have urgency, but when Joe Douglas doesn't have the urgency, it's, oh, well, let the master go to work. He's done a lot of good. The 2022 draft class is good. I like where the roster is at in a lot of places, but this is a massive, massive, massive mistake from this offseason. It started with Bryce Huff. It carried over to John Franklin Myers. And now it has gotten into the season with this whole Haason Reddick holdout because the Jets are not at their best in what is supposed to be a win now year. And it has nothing to do with injuries. It's because they can't figure out how to get their star pass rusher in the building. Also, the dream that the Jets are going to somehow flip Haason Reddick for Davante Adams, I'm not really sure where that's coming from. That's not to say that the Jets couldn't have some interest in Davante Adams, but I don't know why Haason Reddick would be signing up to go to the Raiders. Like, the Jets wouldn't have a lot of leverage to move Haason Reddick because at this point there's not really a ton of teams that have the ability to pay him what he is looking to be paid. The Jets have the $18 million in cap space after their restructures. They can make it work for this year, but they traded a 2026 third round pick for the guy. What is it going to end up actually being that you get in return? I know this is tongue in cheek because you can't trade that far away, but are you going to get a 2030 fifth round pick? What is Joe Douglas getting in return? If the Eagles could only get a 2026, 3 drafts from now, third round pick, what makes you think the Jets are going to be able to use Haason Reddick in a package for Davante Adams? The math isn't mathing here, folks. It's just this whole situation frustrates me to no end. I can't stand that this is still a talking point. But it is, and I don't know when it ends. I really don't. As Connor Hughes said, and as Jeremy Fowler said, there's no end in sight here. I don't know when this is going to end, And it is what it is, I guess. Fight about it in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you next time.